Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you of something very powerful today. Every one of us was born with potential, an untapped seed of greatness buried deep inside. But potential alone does not guarantee success. The difference between those who merely exist and those who rise to the top of their purpose is governed by principles, unchangeable rules that determine success. Just like gravity determines whether you fall or stand, tonight I want to give you not just motivation, but direction, because inspiration without instruction leads to frustration. And so I will share with you 8 powerful rules, kingdom principles, that if you understand and apply them will make you unstoppable, not because of who you are, but because of the unchanging laws of success God has designed for every human being. Remember, this success is not an experiment, it is predictable. If you follow the laws, you can guarantee the result. These 8 rules are not suggestions, they are keys. And when you use them, doors of opportunities will open, barriers will collapse, and your destiny will become inevitable. Clarity of purpose is the foundation of an unstoppable life. Without purpose, no matter how much energy, talent, or resources a person has, they will always find themselves wandering in circles, pursuing things that do not last, and investing their lives in areas that bring no fulfillment. Purpose is the original intent in the mind of the Creator for why something exists. When you do not know the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. In the same way, when you do not know the purpose of your own life, you run the risk of wasting precious years chasing what looks successful but is not meaningful. Think of it this way: every invention in the world was created with a specific intention in the mind of the one who designed it. A car was designed to transport you from one place to another. A pen was created to transfer ideas to paper. A phone was made to connect voices across distances. If you tried to use a car to write a letter or a phone to cook food, you would not only be frustrated, but you would also damage the tool because it was never meant to serve that purpose. Likewise, when human beings do not know their life's assignment, they misuse their time, talent, and energy on things that were never intended for them. Clarity of purpose begins with understanding that you are not here by accident. You are here on assignment. Your birth was not a mistake, it was a divine strategy. No matter the circumstances of how you entered this world, your life carries intention. That intention is your purpose. To live without clarity of purpose is to live without a compass. You may move fast, but you do not know where you are going. You may be busy, but you are not effective. You may have achievements on paper, but deep down you feel empty because you are not fulfilling the reason for your existence. This is why people who seem to have everything, wealth, fame, and power, still battle depression and emptiness. Success without purpose is failure in disguise. On the other hand, a man or woman who may not have much by the world's standards, but walks in their purpose will radiate peace, fulfillment, and impact. Clarity of purpose transforms your vision. It sharpens your focus. It allows you to say no to distractions and yes to what truly matters. It gives you the courage to endure opposition because you know exactly why you are here. When you discover your purpose, you stop competing with others. Purpose removes the need for jealousy because you understand that you are not designed to run someone else's race. You are here to fulfill your assignment, and no one else can replace you in that. That is why comparison is one of the greatest thieves of clarity. If you spend your life imitating others, you lose sight of who you were meant to be. But if you discover your unique purpose, you will realize that your lane is already prepared for you, and no one can outrun you in it. Clarity of purpose also protects you from being distracted by temporary success. Many people confuse activity with productivity. They believe being busy is the same as being purposeful, but that is not true. Purpose forces you to evaluate every action. Does this align with my assignment? Does this bring me closer to fulfilling why I was created? If the answer is no, then it is wasted motion. Every decision becomes intentional when you have clarity of purpose. You choose your relationships differently. You invest your time wisely. You build habits that are aligned with where you are going. Having clarity does not mean you will know every detail of your journey, but it means you have identified the ultimate reason for your existence, and you are committed to moving in that direction. A plane does not see its destination from the runway, but it has a flight plan. In the same way, when you are clear about your purpose, you may not know every step, but you have a clear direction that governs your movement. This direction fuels resilience because you realize every challenge is simply a test that refines you for the fulfillment of your mission. Purpose also inspires discipline. When you know what is at stake, you cannot afford to live carelessly. You begin to prioritize growth, learning, and mastery because you understand your assignment requires the best version of you. Clarity of purpose is not just a motivational idea. It is a life principle. It is the difference between a candle flickering in the wind and a laser beam cutting through steel. It is the difference between someone who drifts through life and someone who makes history. In the end, clarity of purpose gives you something greater than success. It gives you significance. Success is about what you gain, but significance is about what you give. Purpose transforms your life from survival into service. And when you live a life of purpose, you do not just exist, you make impact. You leave a mark that time cannot erase. That is why, if you want to be unstoppable, the first and most critical rule is to discover and live with clarity of purpose. Discipline over motivation is the second, and perhaps one of the most misunderstood rules for becoming unstoppable. Motivation is often treated as the fuel for success, but in truth, it is unreliable, inconsistent, and fleeting. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes depending on circumstances, moods, or the inspiration of the moment. One day you feel excited to chase your dreams, but the next day you may feel drained, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, you will never reach your full potential. This is why discipline must always be greater than motivation. Discipline is the ability to keep going regardless of how you feel. It is the power to act, not because you are inspired, but because you are committed. Think of the greatest athletes, leaders, or inventors throughout history. They did not build their legacies on fleeting bursts of motivation. They built them on the daily, consistent application of discipline. A runner does not train only when he feels motivated. A writer does not produce great books by waiting for inspiration. A student does not achieve excellence by studying only when the mood is right. They succeed because they have trained themselves to do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. This is the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs depend on moods. Professionals depend on habits. Discipline is the bridge between intention and accomplishment. Many people intend to change their lives, but very few do. Why? Because intentions are powered by motivation, but accomplishment is powered by discipline. Motivation whispers, start. But discipline says, finish. Motivation may help you take the first step, but discipline keeps you walking until you reach the finish line. When you cultivate discipline, you no longer wait for perfect conditions. You no longer depend on emotional highs. You learn to show up for yourself consistently, even in silence, even in discomfort, even when no one is watching. One of the greatest truths about discipline is that it is built, not born. No one comes into the world with perfect discipline. It is a skill, a muscle that must be developed through practice. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your willpower. Each time you honor your commitments, even when it is hard, you expand your capacity to achieve. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes natural. Waking up early, exercising daily, managing your time wisely, or sticking to your priorities transforms from a burden into a lifestyle. That is the power of discipline. It shapes not only your actions, but your identity. Discipline is also the protector of purpose. Without discipline, even the clearest vision will collapse under the weight of procrastination, distraction, and inconsistency. It does not matter how powerful your purpose is if you lack the discipline to live it out. Discipline ensures that your dreams are not left as ideas on paper, but are manifested into reality. It is the daily grind that turns potential into performance. Without it, talent is wasted, opportunities are lost, and goals remain unfinished. With it, even ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things. There is another important aspect to discipline. It teaches you mastery over yourself. The hardest battle you will ever fight is not against other people, but against your own impulses. The urge to quit, the desire for comfort, the temptation to delay. These are the enemies within. Discipline is the weapon that defeats them. When you master yourself, external obstacles lose their power. Discipline gives you control over your habits, your time, and your energy. And when you control these things, you control your future. Discipline also creates freedom. At first glance, discipline feels restrictive. It tells you to say no to laziness, no to excuses, no to distractions. But in reality, discipline liberates you from the chaos of inconsistency. A disciplined person has freedom from regret, freedom from wasted years, freedom from the frustration of unrealized potential. Because they did the hard work today, they enjoy the rewards tomorrow. The undisciplined person chooses comfort now and pain later. The disciplined person chooses pain now and freedom later. The results of both choices are predictable. This is why those who rely only on motivation often give up when life gets difficult. But those who practice discipline cannot be stopped. They may face setbacks, but they keep going. They may feel tired, but they keep showing up. They may lose inspiration, but they refuse to lose commitment. Discipline becomes their anchor, holding them steady when storms come. And because they keep going when others quit, they eventually achieve what others only dream about. In the end, discipline is not about punishment, but about alignment. It is aligning your actions with your vision, your habits with your purpose, your daily grind with your destiny. Discipline ensures that your future self will thank your present self for the choices you made. If motivation is the spark that starts the fire, discipline is the wood that keeps it burning. Without it, the fire dies out. With it, the flame grows stronger until it lights up everything around you. To become unstoppable, you must learn to live by discipline rather than feelings. Feelings change, but discipline endures. Motivation fades, but discipline multiplies. The person who chooses discipline over motivation does not just achieve goals. They create a lifestyle of excellence. They become reliable, resilient, and powerful. And it is such people, the disciplined ones, who rise above excuses and obstacles to become truly unstoppable. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum is the invisible force that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Many people misunderstand success because they focus on the dramatic moments, overnight breakthroughs, sudden promotions, or instant fame. But the truth is that most achievements are not the result of one great leap. They are the accumulation of small, persistent actions performed day after day. Consistency is the secret that transforms potential into performance, ideas into impact, and dreams into reality. Without consistency, talent is wasted, motivation is fleeting, and purpose remains unfulfilled. Consistency is the proof of commitment. It demonstrates that you are serious about your goals, that you are willing to show up repeatedly, and that you are willing to endure the ordinary so that extraordinary results can occur. Many people have brilliant ideas, strong visions, or powerful dreams, but they fail to execute them consistently. They start with enthusiasm, but enthusiasm alone cannot sustain action over time. Consistency, not occasional bursts of effort, separates those who achieve from those who merely hope. It is the daily discipline of doing what is required, Even when you do not feel like it, that compounds into results that feel magical to the outside world. Momentum is created through repetition. When you do something consistently, it becomes easier, more natural, and more efficient. A writer who writes every day develops flow and clarity. A musician who practices daily gains skill that feels effortless. An entrepreneur who takes consistent steps toward their goals develops a rhythm that multiplies productivity. This momentum is not always visible at first. It is invisible work, the steady turning of the wheel behind the scenes. But over time, momentum builds until it carries you forward with a force that feels unstoppable. What once seemed hard becomes easier. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Consistency also breeds credibility. People respect those who are reliable, persistent, and steadfast. When you consistently deliver, whether in your work, relationships, or personal growth, others begin to trust you, follow you, and invest in you. Your reputation grows not because of a single accomplishment, but because of your steady commitment over time. Consistency builds a foundation that cannot be shaken by failure, criticism, or temporary setbacks. It creates a track record of reliability that opens doors and attracts opportunities that would never come to someone who is inconsistent or unpredictable. Another vital aspect of consistency is the compounding effect. Just as small deposits in a bank account grow into significant wealth over time, small, consistent actions accumulate into massive results. Reading a few pages of a book every day may seem insignificant, but over months and years, it produces a vast library of knowledge. Exercising for 20 minutes daily may feel minor, but over time, it transforms your health, energy, and confidence. Consistent effort compounds in ways that occasional effort never can. This is why the greatest achievers in history attribute their success not to talent alone, but to the relentless pursuit of improvement and action over time. Consistency also strengthens character. It teaches patience, perseverance, and resilience. When you commit to showing up daily, you learn to endure discomfort, overcome obstacles, and stay focused on long-term goals. Life is full of distractions, setbacks, and temptations to give up, but those who embrace consistency develop a mental toughness that allows them to navigate challenges without losing sight of their mission. They do not depend on luck or chance. They depend on their daily actions, knowing that results are inevitable if they remain steadfast. Importantly, consistency amplifies the power of purpose and discipline. Purpose gives direction and discipline ensures action, but consistency is what sustains both over time. Without consistency, even the clearest purpose and strongest discipline will falter. It is through repeated action that your purpose becomes visible, that your discipline turns into habit, and that your efforts start to produce tangible outcomes. In other words, consistency is the engine that drives the machinery of success. Without it, all the plans in the world remain plans. With it, your plans become reality. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You do not need to be flawless. You need to be faithful, showing up regularly, even when conditions are not perfect, even when obstacles arise, even when results are delayed, is what separates the unstoppable from the ordinary. Every day that you commit to your growth, your mission, and your work, you build momentum. Every small action compounds, every repetition strengthens, and every consistent effort brings you closer to the life you were created to live. Ultimately, consistency transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It turns small, incremental steps into leaps of progress. It converts effort into excellence, ideas into influence, and persistence into power. If you want to be unstoppable, you cannot rely on occasional inspiration, fleeting motivation, or sporadic effort. You must show up repeatedly, faithfully, and relentlessly. You must act consistently, because consistency builds momentum, and momentum, once gained, becomes unstoppable. Resilience in adversity is the cornerstone of an unstoppable life. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable and filled with challenges. No one escapes trials, setbacks, or disappointments. What differentiates those who succeed from those who falter is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to respond to it with strength, courage, and perseverance. Adversity is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Resilience is the internal power that allows you to bend without breaking, to adapt without surrendering, and to rise even when the world tries to push you down. Resilience begins with mindset. A resilient person does not view obstacles as permanent roadblocks. They see them as opportunities for growth, learning. When life hits hard, a resilient individual does not ask, "Why me?" but instead asks, "What can I learn from this?" They understand that adversity is not a punishment, but a necessary part of the journey toward greatness. Challenges are the testing grounds for character, the workshops where strength is forged. Every setback carries a lesson. Every difficulty contains a seed of opportunity, and resilience is what allows you to uncover that seed and nurture it into growth. One of the most powerful aspects of resilience is its ability to transform failures into fuel. Everyone encounters failure at some point. It is unavoidable. But failure is not fatal. Resilient people treat failure as feedback, as information that guides their next step. They do not allow temporary defeat to define their identity. Instead, they use it to sharpen their focus, adjust their strategies, and move forward with greater determination. Thomas Edison famously said that he did not fail 1,000 times, he discovered 1,000 ways that did not work. That perspective, seeing failure as part of the process rather than the end of the road, is the essence of resilience. Resilience also requires emotional strength. Life's challenges are not only physical or financial, they are often emotional and relational. Disappointments, betrayals, losses, and rejection can weigh heavily on the heart and mind. A resilient person develops the capacity to endure emotional pain without allowing it to control their actions or distort their vision. They cultivate self-awareness, self-regulation, and the ability to maintain hope even in the darkest moments. Resilience is the emotional armor that allows you to face adversity with courage, to confront fear without fleeing, and to remain steady when everything around you seems unstable. Adaptability is another key element of resilience. Life rarely goes exactly as planned. Circumstances change, people fail, and environments shift. Resilient individuals are not rigid, they are flexible. They adjust their strategies without compromising their values or purpose. They accept that control over external events is limited, but control over their response is absolute. By focusing on what they can influence rather than what they cannot, they conserve energy, maintain clarity, and move forward with intentionality. Adaptability turns obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into redirections, allowing resilience to flourish even in chaotic conditions. Resilience is cultivated through experience, discipline, and perspective. It is strengthened each time you choose to face difficulty instead of fleeing from it. Every time you endure a hardship and continue moving forward, you build an inner strength that prepares you for the next challenge. It is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Life will not stop presenting trials, but as you build resilience, those trials become less threatening and more instructive. You begin to see that adversity is not a curse, but a teacher, a refining fire that produces courage, wisdom, and endurance. Another aspect of resilience is the power of vision. People who endure hardship most effectively are those who have a clear understanding of why they are facing the struggle and what they hope to achieve on the other side. Vision provides the anchor when storms rage, the light in the darkness, and the hope that tomorrow will be better. Resilience without vision can lead to blind endurance, but resilience guided by purpose transforms obstacles into purposeful steps along the path to destiny. Every challenge becomes meaningful when viewed through the lens of your ultimate goal. Finally, resilience is contagious. A resilient individual inspires others by example. their courage in adversity, their calm in chaos, and their determination in the face of obstacles become a model for those around them. Resilience not only changes the trajectory of your own life, but also influences your family, community, and environment. When you develop the ability to withstand adversity, you become a source of strength, encouragement, and hope for others who are struggling. In conclusion, resilience in adversity is not optional for those who wish to be unstoppable. It is essential. Life will test you, challenge you, and attempt to derail you. But resilience ensures that you rise, adapt, and keep moving forward. It transforms setbacks into lessons, failures into fuel, and hardship into growth. Resilience is not just about surviving, it is about thriving in spite of challenges, turning trials into triumphs, and becoming stronger, wiser, and more determined with each obstacle. If you desire to be unstoppable, you must cultivate resilience, for it is the force that allows you to endure the storms of life and emerge victorious on the other side. Focus on growth, not approval, is one of the most important principles for anyone seeking to become unstoppable. Many people spend their lives chasing validation, seeking the applause of others, or trying to fit into societal expectations. They ask, will they like me? Or what will they think? Rather than asking, am I growing? The pursuit of approval is a trap because it places your sense of value in the hands of others whose opinions are often fleeting, inconsistent. True power, influence, and fulfillment come from growth, not approval. Growth is internal, lasting, and transformative, while approval is external, temporary, and often shallow. When you focus on growth, your mindset shifts from trying to impress others to improving yourself. You begin to prioritize learning, skill development, and self-awareness over public recognition. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to expand your abilities. Every failure becomes a lesson to refine your strategies. Every critique, rather than being a threat to your self-esteem, becomes a source of insight and guidance. Growth-oriented individuals understand that the journey of self-improvement is far more valuable than the fleeting satisfaction of approval. They are not motivated by praise or applause. They are motivated by the desire to become the best version of themselves. Seeking approval often leads to compromise. When you prioritize the acceptance of others, you risk abandoning your values, ignoring your purpose, and diluting your potential. You may say yes when you should say no, follow trends that do not align with your goals, or adopt behaviors that are inconsistent with your identity. Approval seeking keeps people trapped in mediocrity because they are more concerned with fitting in than standing out. Growth, on the other hand, requires courage. It asks you to make difficult decisions, to embrace discomfort, and to challenge yourself in ways that others may not understand. Growth is often lonely because the path of improvement is not always celebrated by others, but it is always worth it because it builds character, capability, and resilience. Growth also fosters authenticity. When you focus on becoming better, you are forced to confront your weaknesses, embrace your strengths, and align your actions with your true self. Approval may encourage masking, pretense, or people-pleasing, but growth demands honesty, accountability, and self-reflection. You learn to measure yourself against your own standards and progress rather than external opinions. This authenticity not only strengthens your self-confidence, but also attracts genuine relationships and meaningful opportunities. People respect and follow those who are true to themselves, not those who merely seek to be liked. The pursuit of growth over approval changes your relationship with feedback. Approval-driven individuals often avoid criticism or become defensive when challenged because it threatens their perceived image. Growth-focused individuals, however, welcome constructive feedback. They recognize that input from others, whether positive or negative, is a tool for refinement. Criticism is no longer a threat, but a catalyst for improvement. By focusing on growth, you turn obstacles and resistance into lessons, setbacks into stepping stones, and doubts into motivation. This mindset transforms challenges into opportunities to evolve rather than reasons to retreat. Another important aspect of focusing on growth is that it builds momentum and sustainability. Approval is fleeting. It comes and goes depending on trends, popularity, or the opinions of others. Relying on it creates inconsistency because external validation is unreliable. Growth, however, is cumulative and compounding. Each skill you learn, each habit you build, and each insight you gain adds to your capability over time. This internal progress is independent of external recognition and produces results that endure long after the applause has faded. People who focus on growth become unstoppable because their advancement is self-driven and not contingent upon the judgment of others. Focusing on growth also encourages resilience. When your self-worth is based on approval, setbacks, rejection, or disapproval can feel devastating. You may lose confidence, question your path, or give up altogether. But when your priority is growth, setbacks are reframed as opportunities to learn and adapt. You maintain forward momentum because your measure of success is tied to your improvement, not to the fleeting opinions of others. This perspective allows you to endure challenges with patience, persistence, and purpose. In the end, the pursuit of growth over approval is about empowerment. It frees you from the chains of judgment, comparison, and fear. It gives you control over your life because you determine your progress, your standards, and your priorities. It aligns your actions with your purpose, your habits with your goals, and your mindset with your potential. Growth-focused individuals do not wait for permission, recognition, or validation. They create their own path, expand their influence, and achieve their destiny. To become unstoppable, you must embrace growth as your compass and let go of the need for approval. Success and significance come not from being liked by everyone, but from becoming better than you were yesterday. The person who chooses growth over approval develops strength, wisdom, and impact that cannot be diminished by criticism or neglect. Growth shapes your character, empowers your decisions, and positions you to achieve extraordinary results. When you focus on growth, you are unstoppable because your progress depends on your commitment to yourself, not the fleeting opinions of others. Faith-driven action is the ultimate principle that separates ordinary effort from unstoppable achievement. Many people misunderstand faith as simply believing that things will happen or waiting passively for opportunities to appear. True faith, however, is not passive, it is active. It is the willingness to step forward, take risks, and act in alignment with what you believe is possible, even when circumstances seem impossible. Faith-driven action bridges the gap between vision and reality, transforming dreams from ideas into tangible outcomes. Without action, faith remains theoretical. Without faith, action lacks direction and purpose. Faith-driven action begins with belief. To act on faith, you must first be convinced that your purpose, vision, or goal is achievable. This belief is not based solely on what you see or feel in the present moment, but on the understanding that there is a greater power principle or potential guiding your steps. Belief fuels courage because it allows you to move forward even when the path is uncertain. It allows you to take the first step before the full staircase appears. Faith-driven individuals are willing to act without guarantees because they understand that the unseen is often more powerful than the seen. Taking action in faith requires courage. It demands that you overcome fear, doubt, and hesitation. Many people fail not because they lack vision, talent, or opportunity, but because they are paralyzed by uncertainty or the fear of failure. Faith-driven action refuses to be immobilized by circumstances. It chooses to move despite the risk, to start despite the unknown, and to persevere despite obstacles. It understands that waiting for perfect conditions or full assurance often leads to inaction and missed opportunities. By acting in faith, You create momentum and open doors that would remain closed if you waited for everything to align perfectly. Faith-driven action also requires clarity of purpose. Life without purpose is wasted energy. Faith ensures that your efforts are intentional and aligned with a greater vision. When your actions are guided by faith, they are not random or reactive. They are strategic, purposeful, and directed toward fulfilling your destiny. Each step becomes meaningful, and even small efforts accumulate into significant results over time. This alignment of faith and action ensures that you are not merely busy but effective, moving steadily toward your goals with intentionality and focus. Another critical aspect of faith-driven action is persistence. Faith is not a one-time declaration,